Your photo editing software was designed by people who think color science means picking a nice filter. Meanwhile, every frame of cinema you've ever loved was graded with tools built around something called a color-managed pipeline, and those two worlds have never really talked to each other. Blackmagic Design just kicked the door open. DaVinci Resolve started in 1984 as room-sized dedicated hardware that only major studios could afford. Blackmagic Design bought it in 2009, made it free, and turned it into the industry standard for editing and color grading used on Netflix originals, award-winning films, and basically anything expensive enough to care about looking correct. Not having it on your CV started to feel like a confession. Here's what photo editing software has been quietly getting wrong. Tools like Lightroom operate in a color space that's essentially a polite suggestion and approximation tied to your display. Cinema color grading works inside a fully managed pipeline where every pixel carries an absolute physical meaning, independent of whatever screen it ends up on. It's the difference between painting on a wall and painting in a coordinate system that survives being moved to a different planet. DaVinci Resolve Photo is Blackmagic's entry into still image editing, a dedicated app built on the same color engine that grades blockbusters. Full raw processing using the same algorithms developed for cinema cameras. A workspace designed around the idea that a single photograph deserves at least as much color precision as one frame of a film, and a film has 24 of those every second. Most photo editors use layers, a stack of adjustments piled on top of each other in sequence. DaVinci uses nodes, independent processing blocks wired together like a circuit. This sounds like a minor architectural choice. It is not. Nodes let you branch corrections, feed one result into multiple paths, and build reusable grades with structural precision that a slider-based, layer-ordered model physically cannot replicate. You stop editing photographs and start engineering them. Adobe has had roughly 30 years to overhaul Lightroom's color rendering engine. They introduced improved color profiles in 2018, which was widely described as progress. Adobe charges you a monthly subscription for this progress. Blackmagic is distributing DaVinci Resolve Photo for free, which from a business strategy standpoint is either generous or alarming, depending entirely on whose quarterly earnings you follow. The paid studio version adds AI-powered noise reduction, additional format support, and collaboration features. The one-time price sits at roughly 2 months of an Adobe photography plan permanently. Blackmagic's track record with Resolve matters here. Their free tier has competed legitimately with paid professional tools for over a decade. This is not a stripped demo with a paywall around the useful parts. The people who gain most here aren't professionals chasing technical perfection, it's every working photographer who spent years wondering why their prints never matched the screen. That was always a color management problem. It always has been. The tools to fix it just lived behind a Hollywood paywall, inside workflows most photographers never knew existed and had no reason to seek out. Cinema spent decades solving the problem of making light look exactly right under any condition, on any screen, at any stage of production. Photography has been papering over that same problem with profiles and presets and educated guesses. DaVinci Resolve Photo is not a feature update or a market pivot, it's a fundamentally different claim about what photo editing should be. And it arrives already knowing how color actually works. Strip away the marketing and here's what actually happened. A tool built to make Hollywood look correct just walked into the room where most photographers work, and it brought 30 years of cinema color science with it. The gap between looks good on my monitor and looks correct everywhere was never a mystery, it was an access problem. Color management existed. The pipeline existed. The knowledge existed. It just lived inside a workflow that cost studio money to enter. What changed isn't the technology. What changed is who gets to use it without asking permission. What strikes us isn't that Blackmagic built this, it's that the problem it solves is one photographers were mostly told didn't exist. Wrong prints, inconsistent screens, colors that survived editing but not delivery. The answer was always calibrate better, use better presets, try a different profile. The actual answer was that the entire model was wrong and nobody in the consumer tool market had much incentive to say so loudly. We're not sure what it means that the correction came from outside the photography industry entirely. But we think it's worth sitting with. If cinema solved this decades ago, what does it say about the tools we trusted and the industry that kept selling them to us?